I was speaking to a Christian yesterday. Yeah, hopefully this may or may not record my voice. So, I was speaking to a Christian the other day, and we got obviously onto the topic of God. Um, I took the standpoint of not knowing whether or not he existed. And he took the standpoint of God, you know. And throughout the conversation, he's said a few times that, yes, we both could be right and we both could be wrong. I mean, there's no way of proving it. So if you cannot prove something exists or does not exist, so if you cannot prove that something exists, or you cannot prove that something does not exist, or disprove its existence, however you want to look at it, within that it does not exist. So, if you cannot prove that God exists and you cannot disprove his existence, it becomes irrelevant because it is just a belief. So take an equation, any equation, doesn't matter, and place God, a belief of God existent within it. Now within that equation, it's affected by God. So within that, you're believing God to exist, and within that equation, it's completely affected by that belief of God. Now take that same equation and place a belief that God does not exist. It's still affected by that belief. It's still completely affected by that belief. And now looking at reality, you cannot prove or disprove his existence. So you take God, a belief of God, or a belief that God does not exist, out of the equation, and you're left with reality. You're left with what is real. You're not affected by God any longer. And so within that, God does not exist because it's improvable, and it's improvable whether or not he exists. And so within that, it becomes irrelevant. Because you can continuously, infinitely go back and forth. If he exists, he does not exist. But the fact is that you cannot prove it, prove that he does or does not exist. So you take it out of the equation, and within that, there's no existence of God. So it's some cool mathematics on God.